Welcome back to FHTV Plus, and today we are joined by Flawless from Sarcasm City TV, one of my favourites to work with. Flawless, how are we doing? How's things in the world of football?
Yeah, man, all good. Finally, the season's coming to a close because as a Manchester United fan, the Premier League season has been complete hell. So I'm glad that the season is almost done. Big up for having me, though. Much appreciated. Always good working with you as well, Saba, also. So it's good we finally get to actually link up because you be as busy as I am. So yeah, this link up's been long pending. That's why it's been a long time in the making.
The thanks are all from my side to you. So look, let's get into it. Look, as you said, as a Man United supporter, I said to you, give me a phrase, give me a quote that sums up this season. And you came back and went, United to scam another trophy. You're only in the Europa League, as the same as my club in the quarterfinals of the Europa League. The terminology used to scam another trophy. Talk to me about this. Do you think you're going to win it? And why scamming another trophy? Because you've won 2 in the last 2 years. Talk to me.
Yeah, the reason why the word scam is because when have we ever been the favourites for any of those trophies? We played City in the FA Cup. Nobody thought we was going to beat City in that FA Cup final. And even the game before sums up Manchester United. We're playing Coventry, championship side, 3-0 up, cruising.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, bang, 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 3-3 all. And then they had the goal that was ruled out offside by, I think the man's kneecap was offside. He was literally like 2 inches offside. And then we go on then to win the game. That is just typical of Manchester United. Same with the Carabao Cup, even though we were much better in the first half of that season. We fell off a cliff in the second half of that season after beating Newcastle. So when I say scam another trophy, it's just a severe lack of quality because we've been doing that. Like I said, when has it ever been you look at it and go, oh, that was thoroughly deserved. Manchester United were a much better side in that final or played great throughout a tournament. And of course, tournament football isn't like that. And there is an element of luck and it's about getting results. But with us, it's just a distinct lack of quality. Like we were talking about Real Madrid. Real Madrid don't always play the best, but they have quality players. They have X factor. So whether it's an Mbappe, a Vinicius Jr., a Bellingham, Rodrigo, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, we're like a terrible version of that because we don't have that. That's not our quality. That
at least this is so strange. This is so strange because obviously for me growing up and for 20 odd years, you were that team. Man United were that Real Madrid team. You were a team packed full of stars. You didn't always play well, but, Fergie time existed and somebody would score goals. And now we're at the stage where people are talking about scamming trophies. So let's move it to this trophy then, because the Europa League is what you've got left to play for. You've got, we're recording this on Tuesday. You've got Lyon on Thursday night. Do you believe you can go on to win this Europa League? You're a team that draw a lot of games. You don't score a lot of goals. Do you believe you can scam this trophy, so to speak?
In heart of hearts, no. I don't think we can win this trophy in my heart of hearts because I mentioned there about talent. And one thing, you mentioned our lack of goals. Ahmad's currently injured. Maino's not currently injured, but he's not currently involved in the squad. There are 2 players in the final third that have some X factor, that have some talent. Because if you take those 2 out, as we've seen recently, because they've been injured for a long period of time, our attack is dreadful. It's championship level. The Manchester derby, the game against Forest, opened up everybody's eyes. Because I've been screaming about our attack being poor from the start of the season, before we even kicked a ball. I'm saying this attack is terrible. We are not doing anything of note. Look at the players we have in attack. And then when you take out the 2 best attackers, in my opinion, you struggle even more. But because we scored 4 goals against Sociedad, because we packed up Leicester City, I think it was 3, and we scored 7, everyone thought that it clicked. And it's like, no, they're 2 poor outfits. Because as soon as we play 2 teams who have any form of defensive now, so obviously Forest being very good defensively, and even City not being at their best, they're still good enough defensively. Shut us down. We never look like scoring in either of those games. So with it, no, I hope I'm wrong, but in my heart of hearts, do I believe we can go on and win this competition? But I've said that before. I didn't think we was going to win the FA Cup last season. The Carabao Cup, I was skeptical about too, and we've managed to do that. But that's been our MO. Even in the past 10 years, even though we had a mini drought where we went 5-6 years without a trophy, we still managed to pick up trophies, still managed to pick up results. League, we've been scamming. I call us Ponzi Scheme FC. How many times we finished second? We finished third. We finished sixth. And there's nothing to show that goes, United were the third best team in the league. Didn't have the third best players, third best manager.
So what is it then, Flores? What is it that gets you guys through this? Like, you know, I understand the name of Man United, and for the last decade, or I think, was it 12 years since Fergie left, all you've ever heard is, you know, this is Man United. You know, Merson says it, Neville said, they all say, but this is Man United. But it's not anymore. So what is getting you over those lines? Is it the other teams thinking that you've got that nostalgia, that history? What is getting you over the line?
That does play a part. I think the nostalgia definitely plays a part in regards to his Manchester United. And as bad as we've been, even an accident with all the money we spend, there's bound to be some form of talent there. So as bad as we've been, we've still had talented players. Whether you rate them highly, whether you think they've underperformed, there's always been something there. We was in the Europa League and signed Zlatan and Pogba whilst we was in Europa League. Not many other teams go and get, whether you rate those two players or not, whether you think they perform, we still have talent. Names. Like I just mentioned there, we still have Ahmad, we still have Meno, Casemiro's here. We had Varane just before, De Ligt's here, Maz is here. Like there's still some form of talent that we have that you go, all right, we can do something. We still manage to, and again, I think that's just volume with the amount of money we spend. If you spend as much as we spent over $1 billion in the last 10 years, as bad as we spent it, and it's been horrendous, just on accident, you're going to sign some talent. That's where I think it stems from. Even on accident, you're going to sign some talent. There's no way we should have won certain games that I go, how have we done that? Because we have been defensively resilient. One thing we seem to manage to get well is we seem to get good defenders in as well. So that does help. And it kind of kicks up. It kind of stems. I think it stems from there. And then we just go down the other end and just nick a goal and just go, right, how do we win that game type of thing?
Yeah. I get it. I mean, look, let's look at your competitors then. Because to win this now, let's be fair, you're not getting relegated. You're not making Europe via the league. So you're very similar to I never thought as a Spurs fan I'd be talking to a Man United fan like this, because we were always so poor. But we can't make Europe now via the league. We can only make Europe via winning the Europa League, the same as you. You've got you're different to us though. We play Frankfurt at home first and then away to Frankfurt, which I think is going to be the deciding factor. You are getting Lyon back at Old Trafford, the theatre of dreams in the second leg. Are you grateful for that? Is this current Man U at Old Trafford, is that a bonus to be playing the second leg at home?
You know what? I don't think it is, because I'm not sure, because we've just been poor all over, but I'd have to double check, but I'm not sure. Our away record might be better than our home record. Not so much in Europe, but potentially in the league. I think it's close, because it seems every time we play at home, we're getting beat. That seems to be the general. Yeah, if you could double check that. But to my knowledge in the league, I would guess it's close, but our away record is slightly better than our home record. Europe is a bit different.
Your home record, you are 13th in the Premier League table for the home record.
Where's our away record?
And your away record, you are 14th.
Okay, so it was close then. So yeah, like to my point, I wasn't that much off.
It doesn't very really close.
Yeah. You're talking a couple of points.
It doesn't show that Old Trafford is a fortress, basically.
Is what from a fortress. Everybody winning here. There's been all season long teams have come here and won, and it's been their first win since the 80s, or first win since the 70s, or their first back-to-back win since the 50s. And it's like, what is going on? But that's because we are a poor outfit and we're paying for decisions from the previous ownership and the previous manager. This is not just on Amorim. This is not just on Ineos. This is a domino effect of bad decisions from the past. Even when Fergie was here, this is from when the Glazers have took over in the early 2000s, and now 20 years later, it's just all caught up with us. You can't continue to make bad decisions off the pitch and continue to succeed. But we've managed to do that because we did have Sir Alex Ferguson, who was the GOAT. We had David Gill, who was the GOAT. We had talented players. And then even when he left, we still managed to bring in talented players and bring in talented managers to then go on and win trophies. But it caught up with us, and now it's caught up with us fully. This scam artist thing, this Ponzi scheme thing, it's like, nah. You can't just keep doing this type of thing. But the aim is to do it again. But yeah, with Lyon, I said it about Sociedad. Just make sure the tie is alive. That's it. Don't lose out there. For me, it's not even necessarily a must win. It's must not lose. And I said the exact same about Sociedad. But with Lyon, I don't know too much about them, but I hear from people who watch them, people who I work with, people in my chat as well. They say good going forward, but defensively they're suspect. This is what I'm hearing.
That sounds like football in 2025 in general at the moment, doesn't it? No one's actually any good at the back. Look, listen, if you get through that, it's looking like it's, you're on Bilbao's half of the draw. Obviously, Bilbao are the favourites. The final is at Bilbao. They're my favourites to win it as well, even though we're in it. I mean, it's gonna be tough to win it, but if you do win it, credit in the bank to Amorim for picking you up, guiding you through it, because you weren't actually doing that well in the Europa League.
We were doing horrendous.
If memory serves me right, you were poor, right? And then
we had drawn our first 3 games, and we was not finishing in the top 8 under Ten Hag. Right. No chance. But credit to Amorim, even though the opposition he faced was weaker, he still had to get those wins. Because what I don't like is Amorim won all those games, got us into the top 8. We're the only team undefeated in Europe, which is the most Manchester United stat, that we're the only team undefeated across all European competitions. If he had lost those games or drew those games, or we hadn't finished in the top 24 or outside, he would have been heavily criticized. So, of course, winning a Europa League trophy definitely gives you credit. But shout out to my guy, Sheik. He says this all the time. If we do win the Europa League, I'd be even more annoyed at Amorim, considering you've managed to win the Europa League, even though people don't expect us with this squad, but you've performed so poorly in the league. And you've made so many foolish decisions. So we're like, you can do this in Europe, but then the Premier League looks like this. What were you doing? Because clearly you're capable.
Do you know what, Flawless? This is so funny because this is exactly how I've been talking about Spurs. This is everyone's saying to me, like, I've gone on record and said, and I'm getting pelters for this. You know, water off a duck's back these days. You know that. But I've gone on record and said, I don't care if Ange wins the Europa League.
Yeah,
I don't want him at Tottenham Hotspur. I don't, purely because of how bad we are in the league. He's had nearly £400 million, 17 new players. You know, last year we didn't have a Europe, so they were on the training ground Monday to Friday, and we still look poor. I'm getting pelters going, yeah, but if he wins it, it's Spurs' best trophy for 40-odd years. But the thing that will piss me off is, like you said about Amorim there, is like, well, if you do negotiate, we've got to beat Frankfurt, then Lazio, then it will probably be, Bilbao or United or someone. You know, if you can negotiate that, how are you not negotiating Leicester City in the Premier League?
Exactly.
Wolves, like that's the frustrating thing. So
that's where the issue lies.
Get where you're coming from. But
that's where the issue lies. Yeah.
If you don't get it, let me ask you, moving to next year. If you do get it, I'm guessing that gives you a lot of revenue. It gives Amorim a little bit of a leg up going into the transfer market to go and get some big hitters, maybe a Gyökeres type character that he's worked with before. If he doesn't get it, for you, is it pros and cons? Cons that you probably won't have as much money, but pros that you will have just the Premier League to concentrate on and to really bed into his system, or do you not think like that? How are you looking at it?
The reason why I don't think like that, because people have said this and been like, oh, 1 game a week, surely that helps. Amorim's at Manchester United Football Club. I don't want us getting used to playing 1 game a week. If you are playing 2 games in a week, if you are playing 3 games in 10 days at the latter stage of the season, that means you are fighting for things. If you are playing 1 game a week, something went wrong. Manchester City, as much as I dislike them, have been the most successful team in the past 10, 15 years, however long it's been. When have they played up until this point, up until this year, when have they played 1 game a week? They've four-peated, they've won a treble, they've won domestic cups. When they're in March, April, and May, they are playing 2 games a week, 3 games in 10 days, because it means you are fighting on all fronts. Like, respectfully, this is Manchester United Football Club. The aim should be higher. And I don't want the manager to get used to playing 1 game a week. And I don't want the players to get used to playing 1 game a week. Because if you are going to be successful, that's not it. Go and check. We mentioned Real Madrid just before this as we came on. Look at how many games they're playing. Go check their fixture list. Look at how many games they're playing. Barcelona, those two are both chasing down trebles. Go and look at their fixture list and how it's congestion pile up. Like you need
every
the
3
manager in
days,
place. It's every 3-4 days.
Yeah,
And people say it's
yeah,
tough. This is why you get paid the big money. If it was
yeah,
the case, you would still be
yeah,
at another club.
yeah.
Respectfully, you'd be at Palace
I'm with
or
you.
Fulham or Brighton, for example.
I'm with you. That's why I always find it funny when, like, as football fans, and Spurs fans are really guilty of this.
Well,
As football fans, we're like, oh, but we've got to play twice a week, and we're playing Wolves this week, and they only play once a week. Yeah, but last season, all year, we talked about we need this many points to get Europe. Yes, we got Europe. Now we're complaining that we got Europe. Like, which one is it? Yeah,
exactly.
The club have massive excuses. But look, listen, if you do, you think though being in or out of Europe is going to affect the transfer budget that Amorim's going to have? Because I think he needs a lot of players. You know, Gary Neville famously this weekend has said, you know, he needs definitely 5 starters and all of that kind of nonsense. But is it going to affect the transfer budget? And second of all, you are Man United. Is it going to affect the caliber of player that you can bring in if you're not in any European competition at all?
Yeah, and this is a good question. And the reason why I think it shouldn't, and if let's say we win the Europa League, it's extra because the board and the recruitment team should be working on it now. They should be identifying what Manchester United need to do now. If they're waiting to see if Manchester United to win the Europa League, to see what caliber of player we can go for, to see how much money we're going to spend, our squad is depleted. Forget just the quality, because there's the severe lack of quality. Our team is rubbish. There's a severe lack of quantity as well, which people overlook. I keep stating this. Our squad is short now. And then if you look at the players who could potentially leave, it's even more short. Like, for instance, Sancho's not here. We haven't replaced Sancho. We haven't replaced Rashford. We haven't replaced Anthony. Whether you rate those players or not, whole different conversation. I personally don't. That means we're 3 attackers down already. What over top club is just casually 3 attackers down? If Eriksen's out of contract, he's going to leave. Casemiro could potentially leave. That leaves us with 1 senior central midfielder, because Collier is a youth player. Bruno Fernandes is not traditionally a central midfielder. So we're 3 attackers down in the 2-10 areas, and we could have 1 central midfield, 1 actual senior central midfielder. So with that, they need to be working right now. They should already been working from March, and talking to Amorim. And like, okay, this is what we need. There's the list of the players we're going for. These are positions we need to fill. These are the players that we're going to sell. Now, if we happen to win the Europa League, that should be addition. So let's say we get extra 30-40 million, for example. Okay, that can be 2 players, 3 players more. But they need to be working tirelessly, because we need first teamers. We need 5 or 6 first teamers, not just squad players or potential. No, we need a goalkeeper. We need 2 central midfielders. We need a number 10. We need a striker. That's right down the spine of the team. Never mind squad players. So
no, listen, I completely get you. I hate it when football fans talk about, oh, we'll wait till the summer to see what we can do, and you're like, well, no, these people are paid all year round. The recruitment team, the scouting team, the directors of football, they should be in those conversations. Listen, last question I want to wrap this up with. Obviously, Ruben Amorim's come into a very difficult scenario. He does have his way of playing, which the board would have known when implementing him into the job. Man U fans, depending on who I listen to, some people saying, no, listen, he should be changing his system. Others saying, no, let him grow with that system so that it gets drilled into the... Where are you at with the whole Ruben Amorim system? This is how he plays. Is he going to be a success with that?
I think he can be, because we've seen you be a success. We've seen you be successful prior. We say, yes, it was Portugal, but he was still brought Sporting their first league title in 20 years. He did well at Braga, did well in Europe with Sporting as well. And this is what we hired you for. How are you going to hire someone to do a job their way, then because it doesn't go swimmingly well, change it around? Make that make sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. I own a food place. I hire you to make a certain type of cuisine. Well, I say to Amorim, hey, hire Portuguese cuisine, make Portuguese cuisine, make Portuguese meals. It's not going well, and I turn it and say, hey, you know what? I need you to make African cuisine. What? No, this is not what you was hired for. So stick with your system. My issue with Amorim isn't the system, isn't the tactics, personnel. I keep saying this. Personnel is the major issue, because I hear him talking interviews before games, after games, on non-match days, and then he'll point out the problems. He'll literally point out word for word the flaws in players and things of this nature and say, this player would like Garnacho. I'm paraphrasing what he said. Yeah, Garnacho can't play centrally. He struggles. But then you'll play him as a 10. Maguire struggles when there's space around him. But then you'll play Maguire in a high line. On foolishness. And that's what annoys me so much about him is because I rate him as a manager. But then you'll do foolishness and you'll do things that I can't defend. This is why I'm critical of him. To the point where people have said, oh, are you hammering him out? No. I'm criticizing the manager for doing things wrong. If you get poor results and get poor performances, I'm going to criticize whether I rate you or not. Personnel is my issue. Because when he's played better personnel or different personnel, we've actually performed better. And too many people do results-based analysis. And you'll get this. When you win, it's all well and good. Everything's great. All the players are great. All the managers are great. On the flip side, you lose. Manager's terrible. All the players are terrible. Sell everybody. It's like, no. I can look aside from that because the Manchester derby, for example, when he dropped Rashford and Garnacho from the squad, even if we would have lost that game, that's a step in the right direction. We then never seen Rashford again, and Garnacho didn't start the next 4 games, even though the results after that didn't go well. But I looked at that and go, all right, that's on point. But then after that, you're playing Garnacho week in, week out, and he's terrible. That's on the manager.
No, listen, fair. I completely get it. Listen, Flawless, I'm sure we're going to do another one of these at the end of the season and see what actually happened. It's do or die for both our teams really this week in Europa, isn't it? Because listen, I know Spurs aren't the level of Man United over the decades, but for both our clubs to be finishing in that bottom half is well and truly atrocious. Listen, Flawless, everybody, Flawless. If you don't know Flawless, please get over to Sarcasm City. The link is going to be in the bio for this video. And anybody who's coming over from Flawless's channel to watch this, please do subscribe and welcome.
Thank you very much. Subscribe to Savage people. Subscribe everyone who's
Thank you very much. Listen, Flawless, until next time, thank you very much. I normally end these shows with a come on you Spurs. Today, I'm just going to say thank you very much, and I'll see you all very, very soon.